How are you doing? Welcome to live stream number 70. 70, folks. Today is Thursday. It's October 5th, 2017. And today's topic is start modeling the way you want. We're going to talk a little bit about getting over that initial hurdle of getting into start modeling things that I think that most people kind of like are encounter at some point. You know, you can only watch so many videos, YouTube videos, especially 70, holy moly, videos before you kind of like go in. But what always happens when I start modeling things up is you kind of like start modeling and then you hit a roadblock where you're like thinking, either you're thinking I should really have done it this other way, or you're really just kind of stuck. And I guess that is really what I'm trying to do with a lot of these live streams, giving you some of the tools to hopefully kind of like move on. So, see, we already got people in the live stream. If you're watching recording, thank you so much for doing that. So, what we're going to do today, I think, is we're going to model up this box here. Kind of like put a little piano hinge on it here. We're going to model this one up. But we're not going to model it up the right way. And the reason I'm saying that is, and this was actually a good idea that David Funley, who sends me emails once in a while, follows the live stream. If Dave is in here today, thank you so much, David, for giving me this idea. You know, most of the people who's looking at these live streams or looking at videos on YouTube are trying to find, well, at least now I'm talking for everybody. I should only talk for myself. At least that's how I kind of used to have it, is you're looking for the right way to do it. And the fact is that there's no right way. I mean, go ahead and start modeling things up, and then when you hit some issues, maybe there's a way to kind of resolve it or hack your way around it and get to the final results. I know I'm talking a little bit about, like, you know, it's all easy for me to sit here and say just go ahead and model, but what I'm hoping today will do, and you give me the thumbs up or the thumbs down, what my hope is today to show you how to model up this box with what I will call kind of like the hacking way, instead of you know, the right way. And if you watch some of my videos, like the one I did one on some drawers with dovetails, where kind of like you're creating all the components as you're going along, and you kind of like stitching all things together, and that's all cool. But if you're looking down in my feature tree down here, some of these icons should look somewhat familiar for some of you guys, because this is some of the tools that we talked about recently here on the live streams. And that's tools like split body and the combine tool. So what I want to do is I want to model something up like this box, but I don't want to do it like this is the perfect way that you need to model things up. I want to kind of like show you a way to hack your way through it. So again, like, David Finlay sends me some great models once in a while, and it kind of like inspired me, you know, because I model something up on the screen, and then David always sends me a better version of it. So let's go in here and just start a new design and kind of start from scratch. So what I'm trying to get at with this live stream is we always know what the final result is, right? Like when you start modeling, you know that you want to end up with a wooden box or whatever it is you're trying to model up. You know that's where you want to go. But to get there is sometimes like freaking boxing match. So the example I want to give with this part is we know we want to create kind of like a box. So let's try to create a box. So I'm going to go in here and start a sketch just on the top view, hit my S key, and open up a rectangular box. And I'm going to make this box 10 by 10 inches wide. Okay, I'm going to hit Q, and then I'm just going to extrude this box up, let's say 8 inches. Okay? Anybody, if you, I hope you could follow me this long. Create the sketch, the rectangle. It's going to get harder from here. I will say that. But this box really resembles this box, right? It's both kind of like same shape, a rectangular box. Now, when I'm looking at this box, at this point, I'm like, okay, so what do I need? So at this point, let's try to break this one down in kind of like its pieces. And I'm going to say this again up front. This is not, like, if you're looking right now for the perfect way to model inside of Fusion, this is not really it. But I think a lot of it is a thought process that kind of hold us back because we're always thinking that we're modeling up the wrong way. So what I want to do is I want to create this lid. That's kind of like the next thing I'm thinking of. And if you watched the live stream a few days ago, we used this split body tool right here. So the way I can do that is I can create a construction plane, an offset plane, from this top face, drag that down -1 inch. That's how thick I'm going to make the lid. Then I can go in and say, let me just split that body down. So click split body, select the body to split. What is the big square? Select the splitting tool. That is going to be this plane, and hit OK. And initially maybe you don't see anything, but if you open up the bottom here, you will actually see that we got now 2 bodies. Let me hide the construction plane. You see that? We kind of like split it. Now, as you're going along, it might be a good idea to name these, because I'm going to create a few. So I'm going to call this one lid for right now. So this is a body. Let me just right-click on it and click the Move Copy and drag this thing up. You see how we kind of like got this this kind of lid here, up here that we kind of want. Now it creates a feature down here. You can just always delete that again. Now let me just hide the lid over on the tree over here. So then we got this box here that we kind of like want to do something with. Well, if I'm looking at our original box, it is hollow. Okay, so one of the tools there is in here is called shell. So we can shell out the inside of a part. So let's hit shell, click the top surface, and it kind of like gives us a how thick do we want to make the wall. So we're also going to make them 1 inch. So now what we have is we have shelled out the entire part, and there's 1 inch all the way around the walls and in the bottom. We can go in here and click the section analysis, and you can see that right there, right? Okay, so I'm kind of like working my way. So, I mean, now we got a box. It's probably the most primitive box you've ever seen in your life, but it's a box. So with that, now go and look at this. You will see that this box here is kind of made up of, you know, if I was going to make this out of a wood block, I wouldn't get a big chunk of wood and then start carving out the center like a big stump. If you look here, you can see it's kind of like made out of 1 inch boards in here. So with that knowledge, I might want to start kind of like breaking our rectangular part up in here into those sections. So I could use that split body again, actually, for this. So if we go in here and we do a split body, and we select our big box here, now I can actually also select a face. And if I hit OK, I just split that face. All right. Now I can do that again. I'm going to right click, hit a repeat split body, select the body here and select the opposite face and hit OK. See how I'm kind of like cutting. Let me hide those 2 bodies. See what we got now? Now we're kind of like cutting the sides off. Now if I leave these 2 on and I start cutting again, I will cut through those when I go in and cut the last 2 boards. So I'm going to hide those. So let me go in again, right click, repeat split body. And we just talked about this split body the other day. So if you follow along, you're familiar with this tool. So I'm going to go in and split the last two pieces here. Like that. So I just split this whole thing, these boxes, into kind of like these different boards in here. So if I hide them individually, that board was an individual board. There's the other individual board, another individual board, another individual board, and a bottom down here. Okay? So you see how we're kind of like breaking the body. I hope this is useful, guys. So, you know, looking at this here, I'm kind of like happy with this, but honestly, you know, as I was looking at this, if I was putting this together, I wouldn't end up with like a bottom that would kind of like float down here, right? What I really would do was I would probably have what you see here. I would have one big piece of wood at the bottom, and then I would have each individual piece kind of like sitting here and get them nailed in or glued in or screwed in or whatever you want. So how do we get by that problem? Well, another thing we can do in here, and we talked about this tool before, the combine tool. See, inside of Fusion, we can actually cut something, break something, and then put it back together again. So I'm going to go in and do another split body as we just had before. And I'm actually going to select all these components that I want to split these. Okay, and I don't know if I can select multiple of them. Oh yeah, I can. Cool. So I'm going to select these 4 boards, and then over here when it says the splitting tool, I am going to select that front face, top face down here, and I'm going to split this. So now I got a lot more. See how many bodies I get over here? Now I got a lot more bodies, but let's just go ahead and turn some of them off. So the first one here, I'm going to leave that little stick. I'm going to leave that little stick, that little stick, okay, good. Bottom, perfect. I can turn the rest of them off. See, now I end up with kind of like this mess here. I cut them all in pieces. Now I can go in and say, well, wait a minute. I actually want those to be all together in one body. So I can use the combine over here. So you select your, and it doesn't really matter when you do this kind of stuff. You can select whatever, which one you want. And you will see that they get combined in here. So now I can combine these bodies back into one big one. Right click, repeat, combine body. And I just took those small pieces and put it into one big one again. So let me just turn all this back on. Right now suddenly it starts looking like something. And I really only used, I mean, we extruded the first block up. I created one plane for the lid and the shell command, but everything else is kind of like just split body and combine. So that's, I'm pretty happy with that. Let me turn the lid back on. So we kind of like have the lid there. So this was where I kind of like looked at this and I put an appearance on it because, you know, I said the other day that looking on gray and gray just gets boring. I'm going to right click and hit appearances. And I'm going to go into wood down here. Select finish. And I'm going to take this oak and put on. But what some people will do is they will go over and click and drag it on all of these. I talked about this yesterday. We can also just drag it up on top of the original one over here, and all of them get turned up to that. So that's kind of like making it a little bit easier, so you don't have to click on all of them. Okay, so I have just made my box, and I'm kind of happy with this box. But now I realize that when I did this, that I want a hinge in here. So this one can kind of like open and close. And that kind of like means that I need to find a piano hinge. I don't want to model it up. I'm lazy. So I'm going to use the McMaster-Carr. But that is also when I start thinking about we're going to use some joints. And we probably also have to kind of like then start splitting this into components. Because right now it's all just these bodies. But it's all great. but this will actually become individual components, especially also if you wanted to create like a drawing with a cut list and things like that. So, you know, let's turn this into components. And this is important because when I did some of my other ones, like when I did the dovetails, I was talking about the importance that if you know that it is going to be an assembly, you should create all the components first. And then you should so you don't run into the problem where you don't have them as components. And that was my attempt of doing, you know, the right way to model. If you create all the components you need for the board, then, you know, it's easier when you're making your dovetails and stuff like that. If you haven't seen the drawer video, go and search on that one. But the idea behind this is that we're kind of like, we don't have to do it like that. You can actually go in and kind of wing it and work your way with it. So to turn this into components is kind of like pretty straightforward. So just right click and say create component from body, and it now turns into a component. Well, that was easy, right? So there we have it. Now we have all the different components. So yes, if you knew that this was going to be components, you could probably have created them all and then drawn each one up. But this here is kind of like a way to kind of just make it happen as you go from that original box we started out with, right? To the end here. Now, where this now is a components and not bodies anymore, you will see that everything is kind of like flying around in space. So Control Z is undo. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and find that lid at the bottom of my board. That's of course this one. You can again rename them. Makes life a little bit easier. I'm going to make that one grounded. So I'm kind of like saying this one is nailed in space because now we have components. Things gonna kind of float around. But then to make the other ones kind of like fixed to that one, I'm just going to hide the lid because that one actually got to move. All the other ones I want to nail to place, glue or screw, whatever you want to do. I am going to go up and use the rigid group, what means that I'm telling everything that, you know, these things are all part of one group that is all kind of like included together. And since we grounded, you see how there's a little thumbtack on the bottom up here? Since we grounded that one, it's kind of like everything is glued together and that is not moving at all. Yay. Okay. So we have the lid. Now the lid right now will float around. So we got to attach that with kind of like a like that piano hinge or something like that. So how do you get a piano hinge? Well, that's a very good question. Thank you for asking. Well, that was maybe a little lame. In the insert, you can insert McMaster-Carr components. And why not go in and search piano hinges? Yep, there they are. And there's different types. So I'm going to click a surface one. Let me just make this window a little bit bigger. Is this good? Things are good? We got 79 people in here. Okay. And I'm going to be lazy and click the one with holes. I don't feel like making the holes. So I'm going to click that one. And you can kind of like see how it's like a door frame here. And this is maybe not the best white one. I don't know. Okay. So we got that. What size should we pick here? I don't know. There's like a pin diameter over here. And 1/8 of an inch might sound good. So I'm going to take an 1.5 inches and click on the order number for that. It comes in 2 lengths, 4 feet or 6 feet. That worries me a little bit because 4 feet, if you're European, that's freaking a long piano hinge. Let's go into product details and let's go down here and select download it as a step. 3D step is the way you want to get it. Let's hit OK. Hit save. And I'm going to take a sip of my coffee. Yeah, see, that was my fear right there. You see that piano hinge? That's freaking huge. Okay, I'm going to hit OK here. That piano hinge is a little bit bigger than I want. And you know what? I'm looking at this. It probably don't even spin around. Nope, it's flat. This is disappointing. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to do something that, again, maybe is not the right way to do it. But I'm going to right-click. There's the piano hinge. I'm going to right-click on it. And I'm going to say Save Copy As. And then out here, I'm going to say, I don't want to save it to my desktop. I'm going to save it right to the cloud, right to our folder here. And we're going to call this Piano Hinge. And we're going to hit Save. Okay. Now, if I go out and hit on my data panel, you will see that that is happening. That is coming right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to delete this one right here. Right-click and just delete it like it never happened. Okay, so now that was never inserted out there. Now it's sitting in here. So let me open it up by itself. Okay, so here is our imported piano hinge from McMaster. So, you know, I don't really want it to be this long. Well, why don't we just use the same way as we did before? Let me create a offset plane from this face. And, geez, how long should we make this panel? 5 inches? 6 inches, maybe. So I'm just going to offset this plane, not 60 inches. 6 inches. Like that. And let's do what we did before. Let's do a split body. Now, if I open up this folder here, you'll see there's actually 3 bodies in here. Because this one contains of 3 components. There is this bracket that I'm going to split with this plane. And hit OK. Right-click, repeat, split body. There's this side. I'm going to split that with that plane. And then there is also this centerpiece in here that I am going to... Oh, I'm not sure what I selected. This with this plane. Okay? So now we got that. Let me hide that construction plane. And then I can actually right-click and I can... Now, if you delete, you're going to delete the whole thing. But if you hit remove, that body is just going to go away. So now I can just hit remove. And there is my 6-inch piano hinge. Okay. A couple of things I'm going to do to this. Because this is also going to be... I want it to move. So I'm also going to turn these into components. Create component from body. Create component from body. Create component from body. So now we have three bodies in here. Now, one of them always got to be fixed. So I'm going to select the rod as the fixed one. I think that will work. Or grounded, sorry. Fixed grounded. And then there was one of you guys on YouTube the other day who asked me an awesome question. He says, you never ever use as-built joint. Well, now I have. So as-built joint means this whole thing is kind of like put together the way we want. We just kind of like got to tell the software that this is what we want. So you can use this built-in joint, which is absolutely one of my favorite functions, actually. So I'm going to select this built-in joint. I'm going to select the 2 components that I want to join together. And there is this panel, and then there was the center one here. Now it defaults to rigid, but actually what I want is kind of like revolute, right? So I click on that, and now I kind of like have a revolute symbol here, and I gotta say what to revolve around. That's gonna be that center point right there. And look at that. Yeah, baby. Okay. I'm gonna do that with the other side too. I'm gonna right-click. Repeat built-in joint. I'm going to select again the rod and this part. And that's also going to be revolute. And I'm going to smack that right in the same place as I had hang on. This one and this one. And position is in the center. Oh. Is it doing this on purpose? Okay, it works. So now we can see that it kind of like moves the way that you would kind of like think a piano hinge should move, right? Okay, now there is some interference there. I'm not going to worry about this here. Let me turn the joints off. Let's save this one. Shortened and joints. Oh man, I'm going to be close to my 30-minute spiel today. So now we save this one. Now let's go back to our original box here, and I'm actually going to save that one too, just because we put all this work into it. And then we can go out and take that piano hinge, right-click, and say Insert into Current Design. Because I want to show you something pretty cool about that. It comes in here. I'm just going to hit OK to bring it in. And then I'm actually, for right now, I'm just going to hide the lid. And let's see if we can't place this piano hinge. So I'm going to go up and do a standard joint. And I'm going to go and select the center portion right down here at the bottom. And then I'm going to go and select this portion over here. And you can flip it like that. Actually, I don't want it to be revolute. I actually want it to be rigid here. So let's just see what we kind of get here. So, well, doesn't really look too bad, I guess, except that I don't want it to be like that. Did I move that around? Hang on. Redo. Let's go in here, do a joint. This is when I'm winging it, when I'm live streaming. Let's select this edge here and select the back of it. Yeah, that was more like what I wanted. Make it rigid. And then I'm just going to grab this handle and drag it in about how deep I want it in here. So I'm going to make it minus ½ an inch. That's about how deep I want it in here. And you can see that I placed it so it's sitting underneath the piece of wood here. Well, again, and I'm going to wrap this up. Again, the cool thing about this is that we have these tools that we've already used. We can kind of hack our way to get this done. So what I could do is that I can actually go and find this piece over here in the component, and I can make that active, right? And then I could actually go in here and say, you know what, I want to do actually I don't even know if I'm going to try to see if I don't have to have it active. I can go in here and say, combine. That was when we used combine before, to join all the bottom pieces together. You can actually also cut with it. So I can go in here and say cut. So this is still the combine tool. The target body is this piece. And the tool body is going to be this hinge here. And then when I hit OK, well, nothing really looked like it happened, but it did. If I hide the piano hinge, you would actually see that the piano hinge kind of like went in and compressed itself into the wood here. Now, it of course also did these the screw holes, or countersinks for the screw holes. Well, look at this. If I select this face and hold down Control and select this face, so I selected the top and the cone, and hit delete, they go away. Go in and select this, hit delete, go away. So I hope, I mean, this did, you know, in a way, this did turn a little advanced, right? But, and then of course we could do the same thing with the lid, bring the lid back, and we could do the same thing, made it so that, and then we end up with kind of like this box with the lid going back together. So hitting the 30-minute mark. So, like I said, I mean, this would be considered advanced tools, but we talked about these split bodies, split components earlier in this week or late last week here on the live stream. These tools are in there, and what I really hope, I don't really expect you to, I'm not really asking you to copy what I just modeled up, but try to go in there and start just modeling up what you want, and then, you know, even though that is not the perfect or the right way, there is tools in here where you can start cutting and fitting and putting things together, and you end up with something that is usable. And I will tell you that nobody's gonna look at your timeline ever and laugh. I mean, like if somebody showed me this model and they had come to this result this way, to me, man, that's fully legit, right? I mean, you don't have to have it all created. So I hope that this video inspired you to start modeling things up from scratch and just kind of like hack your way through it, get something at the end. You let me know if you like this video. If you don't like this video, that's fine. I'm thinking that I might want to start doing more of this kind of style. Just take something and model it up. Kind of not necessarily in always the perfect way, but more like, hey, get to somewhat that is usable in the end. Thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate it. I'm going to do what I normally do. We're over 101 people in here. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch the live stream. I'm going to do what I normally do. I'm going to end the recording. And so if you're watching the recording of this later on YouTube, thank you so much. And I'm going to jump into the live stream and say hi to everybody. Tomorrow's topic is CAM. I haven't really figured out what it's going to be yet in CAM. Maybe somebody can email me a suggestion. My email is down in the description area below. But tomorrow, same time, CAM. Thank you so much.